In this video, I'll discuss the Python programming language, its uses, how easy it is to learn the language, and I'll discuss what an integrated development environment is, and we will download Visual Studio Code, which is a common IDE in use today. Let's get started. In today's tech climate, if you want to get into tech, something that comes up constantly, all you got to do is a Google search for it, is coding. Coding, coding, coding. Everybody wants coding. Really, it's not necessarily everybody wants coding, but it's a very nice to have. Of course, if you're going into a job that's really going to need coding skills, of course it's a need to have, must have, right? So today, we're actually going to talk about one of the most common programming languages out there, which is Python, its uses, as I mentioned earlier. So Python is a very easy to understand programming language, very easy to learn for beginner coders, and the skill is just, it can't be understated. If you do a search for the top coding languages to learn in 2024, Python is going to be on that list. It just is. It's used for video games, automation, creating bots, and making work more efficient. And the reason why it's important is because of those uses for sure. It is a skill that just can't be overstated for sure. The things you can do with it, of course, the video games, the automation, like I mentioned there. And it's also very useful in cryptography. You can use it for hashing algorithms, symmetric and asymmetric algorithms, digital signature algorithms, so it can be used for almost anything, all the way from games to security, servers, all of those types of things. Python just has a great use. Just as an artist needs a canvas in which to create a work of art, a coder learning Python needs what's called an integrated development environment. An integrated development environment is a program that allows you to practice coding, and there are all sorts of integrated development environments, or IDEs, that are out there today. The IDEs are very useful because a lot of them, at least the ones that are very useful, will have components built into them that will instantly let you know if your code doesn't look right or the syntax is wrong, kind of like in a word processing program, how sometimes a word gets underlined because it's misspelled. It's very, very useful to have one of those. Now, truthfully, for most coding languages, you can actually just use your notepad. So you can just pull up the notepad or whatever operating system you use, and you can code, and then you can load that code into an interpreter or another IDE, and it can run the code. But of course, the risk you run is that any mistakes that you make aren't going to be readily apparent. So if you get an error when your code is run, you might not know where the error is. But the great thing about a really good IDE is that the IDE will tell you what's wrong right away so you can fix it, and it helps make your workflow much easier. A very easy to use and free and readily available integrated development environment is called Visual Studio Code. You can easily search for it on Google. As I mentioned, it runs on just about every operating system out there. You can see it's got a build for Windows, since that's what I'm using, but it also is available for Linux and for Mac OS. So you can use it in whatever operating system that you're running. We're actually going to go through a short process today to download Visual Studio Code so that you can start coding. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to type in, just go to Google and just do Visual Studio Code. There we have the website. We're going to go ahead and click on it here. And for me, since I'm using Windows, I'm going to hit download for Windows. And I'm going to click download up here in the corner. Then on the next page, I click on Windows. I see the download bar up here. Just waiting for it. And you can see I already downloaded it earlier. Just wanted to demonstrate. Now it's done. So I'll go ahead and click on the installer. All right, so here we will click on I accept the agreement, and then next, then next. And I already had VS Code before. Of course, I'm going to hit yes for me. And the program shortcuts, just next. I like to create a desktop icon, but the rest of those you can click on those, whichever one you like. I'm just going to leave it for the default. That's all fine. We're going to hit install. Here we're just waiting. Looks like the installation is going to be finishing here in just a moment. Almost there. And perfect. So we got the setup completed. I'll go ahead and minimize my browser here, and we'll go ahead and click on finish. So what you are looking at on your screen is probably going to be a little bit different than mine. One quick thing to note is the extensions over here. You're probably going to want to go to the extensions first and then just do a quick search for Python. So when Python comes up, there's a lot of different Python extensions. I use the IntelliSense one. The good thing is you can see here just to the right of my mouse pointer, it says that it's got linting, debugging, code formatting, refactoring. So all of those types of things and are useful because it's going to point out when there's a mistake. Of course, if you want to explore these other compilers, these other extensions rather, you can do so. The good thing about this one is it's actually made by Microsoft. So that means that that extension is going to be useful and it's going to be updated often. So you see these other extensions here, it's not maintained. This one here, not maintained. It was one that I think I used. That's probably why it's highlighting like, yo, bro, it's not maintained. That's fine. So the one that Microsoft uses is very, very useful. Here it'll say install for you. Obviously you can disable it. I probably wouldn't recommend disabling it, but you can download it and use it. And of course, once your coding skills increase, if you want to check out other extensions or if you just want to try out a few at a time anyway, you can. But this is Visual Studio Code. One other thing that you may want to look into is signing in to synchronize your settings so that every time you log in, that could be useful. I'm not going to go through that today, but it is an option. So this is Visual Studio Code. Thank you so much for watching. In future videos, I will be producing some tutorials so that you can take a look at different things you can do with the Python coding language. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Have a good one.